Hey, and welcome to the training map. I'm so excited that we get to dive into this super important topic because ultimately, what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we have the opportunity to have collaborators on our team, that they understand what they're doing, they understand what we expect of them, and they understand how to upskill and grow their actual abilities with our company. And so, this is going to be called the training map. And the training map is absolutely critical to making sure that your team understands what they are doing, when, and why. So, why this is really, really important is we want to keep A players. I don't know about you guys, and especially if we are really great at marketing, we can attract really incredible people. And the fact of the matter is, just like often sometimes our clients feel, we can attract clients, we can close them, we can promise them the world in our projects, and then all of a sudden we feel like we're putting them into a leaky bucket, right? We talk about fulfillment a lot, we talk about operational efficiency a lot. This is the way that we can attract top talent and keep top talent and actually keep our A players. Because when our A players come into our business, if there isn't a map or a way that they can grow their skills and grow alongside the business, what ends up happening is they either get bored, they get confused, and they start to look elsewhere. And what we want to do is make sure that our people understand exactly what we're looking for and that they can upskill with our company. So the applications here are going to be incoming team, right? So when you train new people, you absolutely want to make sure that you have a map in place for their initial upskill and that you have about a 90-day runway is really, really typical to really create this type of map for an incoming teammate. The next is upskilling. Current team. And this can be in positive or negative, meaning if you have somebody who's underperforming and you know because you've got your key performance indicators in place, you understand what's going on, and you want to do the thing that no manager wants to do is put somebody on a performance improvement plan, right? You can use this training map to help upskill people into the current expectations of their role. Or in a more positive way, you can say, hey, you're going to move from individual contributor to manager. Here's what that looks like. Here's how you can move into more of a management seat, move into more of a director seat. Then you can help kind of put these training wheels on your teammates so that they can upskill. These applications are absolutely invaluable when it comes to growing a team, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to, with the chaos of growing a company, the chaos of managing all the moving parts, you don't want to feel like you have to reinvent the wheel here. I know a lot of owners who actually just shoot from the hip on training their team. And a lot of times we even fall into the same trap when we create a new role or we, develop a new function inside of our company. What happens is we feel like it's all inside of our brains, and then we are actually remembering every single step in the path or in the process. And instead, we want to make sure that we get this down, we get it understood by our team, and we can cast this vision for the future and for our future players. So let's talk about the actual framework. So the training map framework is basically a functioning ladder. So we need the baseline stuff to be true so that we can build on top of it and make sure that we have a really, really solid training path for our team. Because if we do not, like I said, they're at risk of leaving, they're at risk of being super inefficient, and we're at risk of scaling stuff that people don't know how to do. And we're scaling inconsistencies, we're scaling issues, and we're scaling people who might not understand exactly what is required of the role that they have. And so what we do is we use our SOPs quite a bit to be able to do this. But here are the big things that you want to think about when you are devising a training plan for your team. So first and foremost is an intentional outline, right? It's like creating the path that you're about to walk on, right? So I am moving to Colorado Springs. There are a couple of ways that we could get to Colorado Springs. We could drive to Colorado Springs and we could stop along the way and we could take another route in another direction to go see a landmark that my family's always wanted to see. Something that we planned, if you guys have been following me for any amount of time, you know that our move has gotten a little bit delayed this summer, but something we've always really wanted to do as a family is go see Mount Rushmore. And we love like the hills of South Dakota and the excitement around seeing some of that stuff. And so what we did was we planned to go to Mount Rushmore. Now, was that on like a straight line path? No, it wasn't, but it was something that we really wanted to do and a skill that we really wanted to acquire is being able to go and move through that area of the country. So creating an outline is really, really important. Now, when we plan to go to Colorado Springs in a couple of weeks, we're going to fly now because we don't have a ton of time and it's a more direct and exciting, move to make sure that we go and get set up. So depending on whether you're on the super highway to get trained or whether you guys are going to go on a slow and intentional path, this will make sure that you've got an outline, you have a timeline, and you have some specifics around exactly what the plan is. Because what you want to do is you want to co-create this together with your team. Meaning you don't have to create every single thing from scratch with your brand new hire, but what you want to do is you want to create an intentional outline so that you can show it to them and you can say, hey, does this sound pretty good to you? Does this sound like something that you're excited about? Does it sound like something that we can move through together? If somebody's in a position where they're already coming in with a lot of industry knowledge or a lot of expertise or a lot of experience, you may be able to take the super highway route. You might be able to tell them, hey, listen, here's what I expect and here's exactly what we do here at our company. But sometimes that actually doesn't work out. Sometimes you have to upskill and train somebody from scratch. And sometimes, especially if you're on a budget, that might actually be the best case for your team. So first and foremost, create an intentional outline. The second is get a mentor. And a lot of folks have a little bit of confusion around this. So I'm going to go ahead and debunk what the mentor actually is. So the mentor is not the manager. And I'm just going to go ahead and make that clear. The mentor isn't the person who the individual is reporting directly to or their boss. The mentor is somebody who is skilled in their craft, but a level or two above, right? They're not necessarily reporting to this person. They're a little bit more of a peer who just has a little bit more experience than them. This is not the core manager. And the reason this is important is because oftentimes what will happen, and we're all actually guilty here. I've had to get better at this over the years as I've invested in being in rooms with people who know way, way more than I do. You got to be able to ask and get comfortable with asking the stupid questions, right? The questions that you're like, I know this sounds kind of stupid, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. And the mentor is the perfect person to ask those questions to, because what happens is our team might shirk back and they might say, ooh, I don't want to ask this to my manager because I don't want them to think I'm doing a bad job, or I don't want them to think that I'm not getting it, right? And they may actually withhold that information from the person who's directly managing them, actually responsible for managing their performance. Instead, if you give them a mentor or a colleague or somebody to actually ask questions to, this is going to ensure their success throughout your training. And it's going to make them more comfortable and make them feel like they have people in their corner and they're not just actually, really alone in this process, right? That they're just expected to perform and that we're all judging them and that we're all taking a look at their performance and looking at everything through, a magnifying glass. So make sure that we identify a mentor and make sure that person knows. So the mentor themselves, they should have been on your team. They should be proficient in a lot of the things that we want to train this new person on. They should be able to ask questions and have an amount of bandwidth inside of their schedule to be able to guide this person through some of the challenges in training, right? So communicate with the mentor, say, hey, listen, we're hiring a new media buyer. You have a ton of experience in this field. And I want to make sure that we create some time, maybe it's an hour a week or 2 hours a week, for you to be able to answer their questions and follow up with them, right? So make sure the mentor is also nice and prepped in this direction. The next thing is the self-paced download. The reason this is important is because I've had 2 coffees and 2 shots of espresso this morning. I know it's a lot, but listen to me. I talk really fast. I'm excited about what I do, and I'm super experienced. And so if I were in a position where I was training an incoming person, I could be word vomiting, exciting stuff onto them, and they may feel like they've got a fire hose. And if you're not recording your trainings or if you're doing them in person, that person's going to be like, whoa, hang on a second. I got about an eighth of what you just told me. So what we want to do is we want to create a self-paced way that they can review the training material. Ideally, you've got this recorded ahead of time or you've got your SOP set up. If that isn't the case, I encourage you to go over to operationsagency.com/apply to apply to partner with my team, because we do that all day, every day, and we're amazing at it. But create a self-paced download, because what you want to do is you want to give your new employee 2 opportunities. First is to review the information, digest the information. Second is to go back and review that information as many times as they need to in order to get it down, right? They need to be able to access that information, review it, and actually use it to do the work that you're expecting of them. So if they need to review the training 5, 6, 7 times, I don't think as managers we super care, as long as they're in a position where they're able to actually do the work that we're asking of them. And then eventually those training wheels fall off and then they're able to ride the bike with 2 wheels, right? So those types of things are going to be super, super critical. The amazing thing about a self-paced download as well that lots of people don't talk about is it saves you and your directors and your managers, whoever is training team, a ton of time. It saves everybody a ton of time because instead of recalling what you need to train on, taking the time to sit down, making the decks, going through everything, you do that one time and then you put it into a learning management software. We love Trainual, but you can even put it into a spreadsheet or a document. It's really, really important to have that information created as ahead of time as possible. And you have an opportunity to start doing that. If you have a new hire to train, just record everything that you're doing. That way the next person can come in, absorb about 80% of the information, and then you can spend the 20% of your time leading that person, answering their questions, filling in those gray areas that might be missing inside of the training. So create a self-paced download, get that nice and centralized so people can actually be viewing your training as many times as they need to so that they can download all of the information. The next step is the pulse check. I see way too many people training their team or giving them material and not checking in on how that's going. And I think it's a really, really big challenge to really follow this intentional outline without having indicators that we're moving along in the right direction. So a pulse check might be a really quick meeting. It might be something like a key performance indicator or a milestone that's been hit inside of the training map original outline. It's really, really helpful to come in and take a look. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're assessing key competencies, right? Do they understand what we do? Do they understand exactly what's expected of them? Something I just did recently because we're training a brand new person on our team, as I said, do you understand why your role exists at this company? Like, what is your purpose here? And it was really, really enlightening because she understood immediately exactly why she was here. I've drilled that home in the training 1,000 times. I'm like, if your team does not understand exactly why they're here and exactly the value that they bring to your projects or to your clients if they're working in client services, or exactly the value that they bring to your pipeline if you're, enrolling new people, or to your marketing if you're putting out content and running advertising, those types of things are absolutely crucial for folks to understand. So understand the key competencies. Why are they here? What are they expected to do? The second is key applications, right? Because you want them to be able to apply the things that they're learning. So something simple inside of a pulse check, like, hey, could you show me really quick how we onboard a new customer? Just show me give me a really quick overview of how we do that. Ask them those questions, right? Ask them to demonstrate key skills to you, because that tells you not only do they understand the information here in the self-paced download, but that they're actually able to apply it right at the next level. They can apply it, they understand why it's important, they understand how to do it. So that'll be really, really significant. We personally do pulse checks. First 2 weeks, 30 days, so 4 weeks total. Then we do 60 days and 90 days, right? And those are our pulse checks specifically, because what we want to do is make sure that we have enough of a runway to give somebody some time to get trained. And then if the performance is not where we want it to be by 90 days, then we make a decision. Is this person, really struggling with the material? Is this person going to go on a performance improvement plan? Or is this person totally amazing and they got everything that they needed to? And we move to the next phase, which is the graduation ceremony. And I know this sounds really corny because you're like, oh, do we all have to wear hats and, pin a little star on somebody for going through our training? The answer is yes, you do have to do that. Because the fact of the matter is your people want to know that they are doing a good job. They want to know that they've come in and they've done the things that you've asked them to do. They've reviewed the information, they can apply it appropriately. Their key performance indicators that you've hopefully been watching and have outlined in this specific area are good to go, and that they now can move past the training phase and they've become a full-fledged member of the team. And it's so, so critical, because if you constantly feel like you're new, I was on the phone with a client earlier this week and he said to me, well, I was hired last March, but I'm super new here. And I'm like, super new here. I was like, you've been here for over a year. Like you really should. And he had a lot of really great information to contribute to his team's training. And I was like, hey man, you're here. Like you're a full-fledged member of the team and we're asking for your support. We're asking for what's in your brain because you've clearly learned and are able to apply a lot of what you've learned already. And I think it's really, really important to let them know, similar to when, again, a kid learns how to ride a bike, there's a taking off of the training wheels, right? You have to be able to go and balance on the bike. And a graduation ceremony can look as simple as just celebrating somebody in a Slack channel. We at Operations Agency have like a naming ceremony. That's how folks know that they're like officially part of the team, is we give everybody a little nickname for their contribution at Operations Agency. So that's an exciting and simple thing to do at the end of a training program. But I've seen folks like straight up do trophies or do like taco trucks, like come in when people are done training. One of our clients does a taco truck. And it's so fun. And folks, I think, really appreciate it because it does. It takes a little while to learn a new skill and it takes a lot of effort and time and mental bandwidth. And your people really do want to do a good job. Now, so if you're serious about keeping A players, and you want to make sure that they stay with you, that they get upskilled, and that you as a manager do not have to reinvent the wheel every single time you do training, these are the 5 steps to follow, and they happen in sequence. So you need to make sure that everybody understands their outline, they have a mentor, they're able to download the information of your training async and ad hoc as many times as they need to. They have a good pulse check with their manager, and that they have an absolute indicator that they've crossed the finish line into being a long-standing part of your team. Because one of the craziest things that happens is we reinvent the wheel with training. We don't actually tell our people what we expect and how we expect that to happen. And there is no indicator that they've actually done a good job, right? Because the business gets hectic, the task list grows, and all of a sudden we're just plugging holes in our business with people, and our people don't know what exactly we expect of them. And it's going to be really, really critical to making sure that this is a framework that you can follow at scale. Because what will happen is I've seen so many companies grow to 7, 8, 9 figures and beyond, and the complexities scale with the business. They do. They scale with the business. And then what will happen is, and I've seen this before, you'll have a quick look at how this is going and how you're training people. And because of the fact that you ignored it for a while, it's going to scale with your company. And then it's going to take a long time to detangle and retrain a lot of people. I've been a part of companies that have to fire half their staff or fire a third of their staff because they just weren't trained properly and they developed bad habits. And then those people became managers. And then those people imparted bad habits onto their individual contributors. And it becomes a mess. So making sure that this is intentional and making sure that this is something that scales alongside of your company is going to be so impactful for you, and I'm excited for you to implement. So if you are excited about this, I'd love to hear what you thought of the session. And if you are looking for the couple of resources I can give to you guys, we've got a 4-week training outline, which I think will be really, really helpful to get you guys started on step number 1. The second thing we have, if you weren't with us last week for our workshop, we can grab a prompt list. So the 250 questions that your training and SOPs should be answering for your team, that'll give you a good idea on the self-paced download section. And if you're looking for some support with that, again, go ahead over to operationsagency.com/apply. And we can see if it's a fit to partner with us on making sure that you have that training set up and your SOPs documented. And then we have a full blog on this entire thing. So if you're not a watcher and you're a listener, or excuse me, if you're not a watcher or listener and you're a reader, go ahead and take a peek at our blog. We'll link all of those goodies below. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your week to come here, be with me, and work on your operations, because this is something that is going to be invaluable to your business as it grows. Yeah. See you guys next time.